What's the unintentionally funniest thing you've ever heard a child say? A 3-ish-year-old girl on an airplane loudly announced, "My daddy left me and mommy and I don't know where he went." Then she pointed to her mom's tummy and told everyone, "There's a baby in there too." The mom had to remind her to tell the rest of the story, that daddy had taken another plane to a different city for work, but would be meeting up with them in a few days on their family vacation. Wow, thanks to everyone for blowing up this comment. It made me smile again remembering this story, so I'm glad everyone enjoyed it as much as I did that day. My partner's 5-year-old daughter was watching me do my makeup in the mirror, and she said, "You look like an angel." That's the sweetest thing she's ever said to me, so I gushed like a teenage girl and thanked her with a big grin on my face. Then she elaborated, "You look like your dad." My 7-year-old son slept on the top bunk of a bed with his brother down below. He's a bit of a tank and was hitting around 28 kgs. One night he asked me to put him to bed, and I said, "Mate, you're getting really heavy, I'm not sure that I can lift you all the way up that high anymore." He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Dad, you just need to believe in yourself." This happened last week when kiddo number 2 was born. I brought kiddo number 1, just turned 5, to the hospital for the first time to meet his new bro. He takes one look at the sleeping baby, and says, "He's so cute." Then, he turns to my wife, looks her in the eye and says with genuine concern, "How's your vagina?" The nurses lost it. A lot of people seem to think a 5-year-old boy wouldn't know what a vagina is, or where babies come from. This is kind of sad. Educate your kids, people. So, my almost 4-year-old has a speech delay, and she pronounces horse as whore, and she have My Little Pony toy that she takes everywhere. Anyway, she dropped it in Walmart one time, and I didn't notice and was walking away. She was in the cart, and she yells, "Mommy, my whore. Get my whore." Oh god, I laughed so fucking hard, as did a lot of people around me. Obviously had some nasty looks, but whatever. She thinks she says horse. We're working on it. Watching Star Wars with my 5-year-old nephew. Great scene with Darth Sidious sitting in his little chair facing out to space. You can't see him and all you can see is the chair before he does his big spinning chair reveal. Sidious says something like, "Ha Skywalker, I've been waiting for you" or something. My nephew turns to me, shrugs his shoulders and says, "Talking chair." Don't know why this caught me, but I lost it. For those I've offended, I apologize for dead naming the emperor. I live a new age of political correctness I just can't keep up with. Son's name is Skylar, daughter is 6 years old, wife was going back to college, and we were talking about scholarships, and we noticed that our daughter was crying. I mean, she's wailing and sobbing. After we get her calmed down, we asked her what was wrong. She says she doesn't want us to send Skylar to the moon. WTF. Why would we do that, we ask. She responds, "Why else would you need a Skylar ship?" My kid and me. After a large blowout I had with my ex-wife over something stupid, our 2 daughters heard my ex unloading on about how she hates me, and how terrible I am, and I knew when she gets like that, I have to walk away. She would say some pretty cutting things. Anyways, I am angry, and I go sit on the couch in the living room with the lights off. My 4-year-old walks up to me, "Dad. No one likes you, eh?" Me. "Yeah, I gathered, thanks." "Mommy doesn't like you." "I don't like you." HELEN 1.5 Yo, doesn't like you. Me. "Yeah, thanks." Hahaha, I played a joke on you. I am kidding. I don't know what he thinks. When my daughter was almost 2, she learned the word juice, and it became her favorite word. She didn't always nail the pronunciation, but she was damn proud of herself every time she said it. One Sunday, after church, I was holding her on my hip having a conversation with the pastor, whom everyone in my family and half the church didn't like at all. So, my kid, wide-eyed and excited to show off her new word, pointed at the pastor and said juice. Only, it came out ouch. I swear, I nearly died trying not to laugh out loud right there. That's the day my 20-month-old became my hero. My boyfriend's little brother was 6'7" at the time, and had recently learned some anatomy terms. For some reason, he had anus and penis confused, and no matter how many times my boyfriend and I tried to tell him that the anus is in back and the penis is in front, and every other way we could figure out how to say it, he just wasn't getting it. It got pretty loud at one point, with my boyfriend yelling no. The anus doesn't pee. And his brother saying something along the lines of why do anuses get bigger when you get older. Eventually, I pulled out my anatomy textbooks and showed him a few diagrams, and he finally figured it out. Still the funniest thing ever. One morning I asked my kiddo, who was 18 months old, what she wanted for breakfast. She's just hit a new talking phase and liked to be asked her opinion. She grins, looks me in the eye and says, "Fuck." Record scratch. My husband and I freeze and look at each other. "Sorry sweetie, mommy didn't understand you. What do you want to eat?" Grin falls and she gets that stubborn look in her eye. Fuck. Husband and I blank stare. Fuck. Fuck. Meltdown. Fuck. 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 Tears and snot everywhere. We really tried not to laugh at her, but we lost it. We start laughingly accusing each other of slipping up. Then she starts really crying. So, we sober up, comfort, etc. I go make a waffle in the toaster for her. When I hand her the waffle the tears stop and we get a big grin. Fuck. Thank you. She reinvited the word fuck for waffle. It took months to break the habit, and she would regularly start asking for waffles while out and about. My cousin was a toddler, didn't have much of a vocabulary, and was easily excited by everything construction related, thanks to Bob the Builder. We were on the sidewalk when this guy was driving by slowly. My cousin starts yelling at the top of his lungs, "Dumb fuck. Dumb fuck. Dumb fuck." Over and over while laughing and pointing right at him. I presume the guy driving the dump truck was confused. I had a friend who transported goods for a pharmaceutical company. He jokingly referred to it as delivering drugs in front of his 4-year-old nephew. One day, the friend was supposed to pick his nephew up from daycare. His caretaker asked him conversationally what his uncle did for a living. Of course, the kid spouts off that his uncle sold drugs for a living. This did not go over well with the caretaker. She proceeded to call the mother, who burst out laughing before she could explain. My 18-month-old daughter, my wife, and I went to the beach about a month ago. We are teaching her manners so when she wants something she needs to follow the formula, "Thing I want, please." We're teaching her to tell us when she wants to go to the beach, but it's sounding more like bitch. We're trying to correct her, but it's not getting through. She gets frustrated with us and goes up to my mother-in-law who asks her if she wants a treat of some sort, and she just says, "Bitch, please." I could tell hundreds of stories from my camp counselor days 10 years ago or so, but one that will always stick out was when I had a group of 6-8-year-old on an exploration hike decently far into the woods, and one of the boys told me he needed to go to the bathroom. "Okay, Trevor," I asked, "do you know how to go to the bathroom outside?" Questioning whether or not he understood to do his business out of view from the rest of the group, on a tree or something. "Yeah," he assured me. While walking away, I just take my peanutless out and go. Couldn't argue with his answer. I've shared this before, but once when my niece was very little, maybe 3, we passed a bridge under construction, and there were 2 big cranes working. She sighed in this resigned way and said, "I knew one day the dinosaurs would come and get me." I almost had to pull over, I laughed so hard. Around the same time we were having a dinner party and my best friend and I were sitting in the living room. She toddles in and I hold out my arm. She runs and jumps into my friend's lap. I exclaim, "But, I'm blood." She screams and runs towards me. "You blood? Where?" And proceeds to check me over for flesh wounds. She's awesome. I work as a preschool teacher, so I hear all kinds of hilarious things. Just last week, we were reading The Little Red Hen, and I asked what a hen was, indicating the picture. One of my kids shouts out, "Chicken." And then another raises his arms and yells, "We kill chickens." It was so hard to keep a straight face. My all-time favorite, I am working with a younger age group, coloring a project when all of a sudden one of the kids jumps up, grabs his butt, and utters, "I got to shit." After taking him to the bathroom, we talked about how there are better words to say for poop. Was babysitting my best friend's little brother when he was about 4 or 5. We were looking at a book that explained the human body. On one of the pages, it talked about the heart. I asked him if he knew where his heart was, and he just kind of looked at me, so I pointed to his chest. I asked him again where his heart was, and he pointed right to his nipple. I laughed and told him that was his nipple, and he had this confused look on his face and yelled, "Nibble." What's a nibble for always cracks me up when I think about it. When my daughter was about 2.5, she told me she couldn't wait to grow up because she was dying to be able to say bad words. I said, oh yeah. Like what word? The T word. What's the T word? I asked. She looks around to make sure no one is watching, leans in, and whispers fucking. I'm now dying, and I say, that's not a T word, that's a F word. Think maybe it'd be a good idea to learn the alphabet before you learn bad words. Yo, what's the alphabet? The ABCs. Oh yeah. I should learn that first. My kid was 4 years old and a massive Ghostbusters fan. He went to his preschool one day and told all the teachers he was changing his name to Ghost Tips. He was adamant, and every time someone called him by his first name, he said, from now on, please call me Ghost Tips. By the end of the day, he had gotten so annoyed about it, even the teachers had started indulging him. When I went to pick him up, the teachers were all asking me what the name Ghost Tips meant. I told them I had no idea until I heard one of the teachers say it from across the room. Then it hit me. He likes the latest Paul Feig directed Ghostbusters movie as much as the original Ghostbusters movie. His favorite character is Holtzman, who he had heard use a choice term in the film. But he was mispronouncing it. So, yeah. My 4-year-old had been enthusiastically asking everyone at school to call him Ghost Tits. We eat bovril bread, but mom always calls it Marmite. I asked my 5-year-old what he wants on his sandwich, so he says, termite please. We were looking through my 21st slideshow, and there was a photo of me with an ex-boyfriend, who was white. My husband is darker skinned as he has Lebanese, Italian in his family. My 7-year-old says, you nearly chose a peach guy to be our dad, but you chose a brown guy. 5-year-old. You know why I eat blood. So, I can have lots of blood in my body, so I don't die. 5-year-old when he was 3 or 4 cut his foot open badly, and the flesh was hanging out. He got it stitched up, and in the following days we went to the shop, and he said, are we buying meat to put back in my foot? 5-year-old. When I grow up, I want to be a police dog. 5-year-old. I don't like hate, hate hurts our brain. 9 years old. The girls want to see B, 1 years old sister, but I don't want them to me. Why? Him. Because then they get all excited and hyperactive. My 9 years old told us his clothes had a skid mark from the soup he ate. He meant that it was messy, but it made us laugh a lot. This requires some backstory, but bear with me. My high school friend and I, now both grown and with kids, happened to be back in our hometown at the same time me to visit family, him for a funeral. I agreed to watch his kids while he and his wife attended the funeral and took his 2 boys, preschool aged, to the park with my 2 girls, who were a year or 2 older. I should state that, in high school, I tended to answer every request for knowledge the way Calvin's dad did with funny, but obviously wrong statements. My friend wanted to warn his boys about this, so before we left for the park he said, don't believe anything he tells you, but listen to what he asks you to do. He hoped it would inoculate them from finding out the sunsets in Arizona or similar nonsense. Instead, of course, backfired beautifully. So, it starts out with the kids all climbing a tree. My daughters climb right up, but the younger boys are having some trouble. They ask to be picked up into the tree, and I say sorry, if you can't climb up yourself, it's not safe for you to be there. Hearing this made him determined and climbed right up after that. At which point he started talking about how great it was that I let him climb the tree. Oh. Let. That means he isn't usually allowed to climb trees. So, I ask if his mother lets him climb trees. Oh yes, mom lets me climb trees all the time. Great, I say, then I can send her this picture of you climbing the tree, so she can see how good you are doing. I'll give you $5 not to send that picture. He has zero hesitation in that statement. An immediate and confident bribe attempt is pretty impressive from a 4-year-old. But I'm clearly in trouble here. So, I tell the kids it's time to climb out of the tree, before I find myself in any deeper water with their mom. My oldest daughter straddles the slanting trunk of the tree, and slides down it like a very bumpy slide, but with her legs to either side. My friend's oldest boy stares in shock and exclaims, doesn't that hurt your wiener? My daughter looks at him confused, and states a fact we have all clearly taken for granted at this point. No. Girls don't have wieners. I didn't think his eyes could open wider, but they did. This was, to a 4-year-old who has only brothers, earth-shattering news, and he turned to me to get an adult to make sense of this. At first there was denial. What? Everyone has a wiener. Then came the questions. Do all girls not have a wiener? Do they still pee? How? They still have a but, don't they? The answer to the last at least seemed to reassure him. But then, like Simba in The Lion King, his father's words came back to him. Simba voice, don't believe anything he tells you. And thus the joke becomes clear to him, and he's outsmarted me thanks to his father's wisdom. Obviously I was trying to pull one over on him, with this girls don't have wieners thing. So as an act of defiance, he climbs to the very top of the playground equipment, and begins shouting at the top of his lungs. Everybody has a wiener. Our little guy was 2-ish, the age when feisty toddlers decide that they no longer want to wear their diapers, even though they're not fully housebroken. Daddy and I were downstairs, and we heard the diaper tearing sound on an entirely different floor with the ears that only parents can claim. My husband yells up the stairs in full dad voice, child name. Diaper. The little man runs to the top of the steps in his t-shirt and bare sends, and yells back in his best imitation of the same voice, but dad. Ma penis. Complete with two-handed crotch pointing. You win, little man. Me and my family, mother, older and younger sisters, were at Butlins years and years ago. If you don't know, Butlins are cheap holiday resorts in the UK, and they have things for all age groups to do, less for adults really, but that's not the point. My younger sister at the time was probably 9 or 10 years old, and she wanted some popcorn, but actually asked for popcorn with a straight face even through me, my mother's and my older sister's excessive laughing. My son was 3 at the time. He was riding his little bicycle and asked me to chase him. Whenever I caught up with him, I pinched his bum to make him aware that I had him. I followed him through a market in Vienna filled with restaurants with outdoor seating, and in a clear and loud voice, he kept on yelling in German, "Daddy, pinch my bum again," and rode away. Unfortunately, instead of wicken equals pinch, he ended up yelling ficken equals fuck, basically yelling, "Daddy fucks my ass again, Nutchel popo ficken." The next 24 hours I waited for social services and police to arrive, but fortunately they never came. I worked as a camp counselor as a summer job during college, and I was in charge of 23 5-year-old boys. We would do all sorts of activities during the day, normal daycare type stuff. There was a set of twins in our group, and they were good kids, but would sometimes curse. I never really brought it up to their mother when she came to get them, but rather took the approach of explaining why you can't use certain words. One day, one of the twins went number 2 in his pants during art class. If you've ever worked with young kids and you see a normally talkative and sometimes rambunctious kid all of a sudden very quiet and embarrassed, you know something was up. Before I could get close enough, his brother just yells to the front of the room, "Mr. SCNTZ 12,000, Chris just shits his pants. There's shit everywhere."